What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another SLA video. Folks, before we start off, I want to just remind everybody the content creator program just ended for season 14. We have a brand new season starting on Monday. So if you see the grayed out button, that means you didn't extend and you didn't resupport. So that means all you got to do is wait a couple more days and it will be available. So in order to get qualified for the Discord giveaways, you have to be resupporting. Remember that, guys. In order to show your support, you got to extend in order to win up to the $200 prize. So make sure you do that. Now, let's get on with the tier list. All right, guys, welcome back to the tier list. That's right, we got a brand new one coming up here with weapons. Two new weapons just dropped that have completely changed the landscape of how dark meta is being used and the fact that it puts dark back in the forefront. So we're going to go ahead and cover everything that we normally do, guys. Cover every weapon, put everything up there, and make sure that you guys have the latest and greatest in regards to what's available in the game right now. And you guys can follow this, of course, at any point in time, whether you're a new player, existing player, etc. Now, I'm going to do one more thing that I normally do and I forgot to do here. We're going to add one more section here called rares. We're just going to throw all the rares in there, guys. The only reason why you'd ever use rares, honestly, is if you want to do a challenge account, if you want to challenge yourself. But quite honestly, rares just don't have a place in the game right now. And yes, they're not really that usable, unless, again, you want to do a challenge account, or if, you know, something for BOT ends up happening and that's your best weapon because you're completely new and you've got a crap load of them. But rares essentially will sit on their own. They're not very usable and you don't actually want to put too much focus on them, okay? So that's going to just take care of that problem right away. And yes, I know, guys, I don't have a beard right now. I did a full shave. My kids were asking me to stop having a beard. So I was like, all right, you know what? Shave it. We'll do one day. It'll be back in like literally 24 hours. So for those who are wondering what the hell's going on, this is my face without a beard. All right, so aerodynamic as hell, by the way. Let's get on with the things that matter. So SRs. Let's be honest with you. All SRs at this point are going to be sitting in the D section, except for one, which will be the Night Killer. Put it in B for now. Everything else, though, is pretty useless for the most part, guys. And when I say useless, I mean because there's just so many plethora of weapons out there now that will allow you to do so much without having to worry about using SRs. The only SR really that's viable is the Night Killer if you didn't go for Anyways Roar, strictly for defense pen bosses, for guild boss, but that's really the only reason why. There is a little bit use here for the elemental swords, for SR, for BOT, for your breaker, so there's that one as well too, so I can't take that one away. But the rest of them, guys, are pretty much sitting at the D section, and they're really not going to be that viable. There's no order here, guys, so don't worry about that. This is just where you would put them. All right, now with this, of course, belongs another weapon here that's infamously known for me as Vulcan's dildo. Yes, I'm going to continue calling it that, and that is Vulcan's Rage. Still, in my opinion, the worst fire weapon in the game and the worst weapon period in the game. So keep that in mind when you're using this, that Vulcan's Rage is actually a crappy weapon. So just be careful of that, okay? All right, so that takes care of that. Now there's another one here as well that kind of sits in place with this, and that is going to actually end up being the Forest Bow. It is an event weapon. It absolutely is garbage in my opinion, so don't use it if you don't have to. But if you're new, matter of fact, if you're new, you're probably never going to use this anyway, so don't even worry about it. So there you guys go. That sits there. Scatty did get a little bit better in terms of buffs. I'll put it one above here in terms of C, but that essentially is going to be your C here. It's going to be accompanied by two other weapons that are no longer used ever, and that is going to be Zeke's. Oh, you guys know my issues with Zeke's already, and as well as the Scythe. Now, the Scythe might be a bit better than Scatty in regards to overall damage, but it still is a crappy weapon. So there you guys go. That'll sit there. Now, with B, you're going to also get yourself the Kasaka Venom Fangs, the truth versions of them. So keep that in mind. There is a truth version, not the SR version, that sits there. And then also for AoE purposes, the truth the truth Demon Lance, forgot what it's called. Great for AoE, by the way, but that's really about as far as you're going to go with it. And then one above that is going to be the Huntsman. Now the Huntsman actually has a little bit more use since they've kind of fixed the way it functions now, so the Huntsman is going to go to A instead and will sit there for quite some time. And then of course we're going to also have ourselves another event weapon that came out that many of you might not be able to hear for a while, and that's the Goldtail Fox, in terms of just buffing light damage just a little bit. And now we have big changes, guys. Some huge changes. Okay, so first off, for the bow, now it sits in A. Okay, so this is going to be your backup fire weapon. If you don't have Anyways Roar, this is your backup fire weapon. Not doing very well anymore. Honestly, still kind of mid as it always has been. So that's something to consider. We're not going to do the hunter weapons, guys. We don't focus on those. We're strictly focusing on SJWs. Okay, so there's that there, and then we also have honestly, I'm gonna have to admit I'm not a big fan of it, is the scythe for water. Not a great weapon. And then Alan's orb, I'd say, is probably hand in hand A and A. Just water in general it just struggles very, very heavily, and unfortunately still was not doing a great job with making water viable. Whether it's through skills or through weapons, water is still probably SJW's worst, unfortunately the worst possible setup you can have for any SJW setup is water right now. So it needs a lot of help, All right, next up, S, Plum Sword. Man, oh man, was that ever the mightiest of weapons back in the day. It had its place as the top weapon probably for a good 7 to 8 months, but now has clearly dropped off quite a bit and is not being used that often anymore. So that's going to sit there. Another weapon as well too that's dropped off a little bit, and I'd say probably used here and there, is the Grimoire and the Moonshadow Dagger. So these two here are your support SJW go-tos though. So for guild boss purposes, these are the two used most. They can technically be considered up here even as the two best support weapons in the game, and we can leave this here if you want, but following this is also going to be the Demon Knight Sword. So that these two I'd say, okay, comfortably enough, because they're really not used that often but can be used, they'll sit right there. Okay, Demon King Daggers also I'd say probably the best of the three will sit right there in that section as well too, and that probably rounds out your best weapons for S section. It doesn't get any better than those guys. Now, on top of this, because of the brand new introduction of the other weapons, we're going to put the Himmel Sword right here in double S as well. Unfortunately, the biggest problem with this is it takes a while for free-to-play to get it to A4 or A5 if you had an opportunity to get it for free to A4, but for those who can't even get it, it's useless, right? So I put it down to SS. It could technically be down here due to acquisition purposes, but we're talking about usability. So we'll put double S for that one. And then honestly, like now with the introduction of some of these newer weapons, you're seeing some of these other weapons drop down quite a bit, right? So now let's talk about the cream of the crop, right? What you want to focus on. So for light, it continues to be the Quarterstaff. Quarterstaff is still the best light weapon in the game. Damage-wise, you can't get better than it, for sure. So that right there will be the top of the line for that. For fire, there's actually a couple good options. So fire has quite a bit now. Fire has the spear, for the Redeer Spear. It has the fan, which I still consider a fantastic weapon, and it has Inoue's Roar. So fire for sure, when it comes down to overall SJW usability, is fantastic. You have three amazing good options. I mean, technically this can sit over here, but I still think it's worthwhile to have it here, maybe even at the end of it, but still one of the best weapons in the game for breaking and for buffing. Incredible. And then of course for wind, we have ourselves the Stormbringer, hand in hand with the staff. Honestly, they work so well together, but an incredible weapon, amazing buff, super damage when it comes down to the combination of the two, and overall just a probably the most viable weapon as support and DPS as well, right? So keep that in mind. And then of course we have the king and queen of weapons right now, double kings if you want to call it that. We have the rogue here, which I think is the best DPS weapon right now in the game. And then we have the infusion weapon, which is the most important weapon in the game right now, the first infusion weapon for SJW, and that is the key, the transfiguration key. This item here right now should be on everyone's list as the #1 weapon they should be going for. So that right there, guys, rounds out all of the weapons for SJW and their rankings. If you like the tier list, please leave a like. Also leave a comment if you have any disagreements, or if you just want to comment in general. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave the notifications on, guys. And don't forget, support is coming back in 1 day, so get ready for more codes coming your way. Thank you again, everybody. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.